Wake up.
This is a brand new episode of Wake Up Right.
Wake up.
With your workout buddies, April and sometimes Jenna. Your hit podcast. Your much needed hit of encouragement, empowerment, and motivation to live and grow each day a little brighter.
Hey, beautiful people. Welcome back to our podcast, Wake Up Right. I'm April and
I'm Jenna. Welcome.
and today we are just going to dive right into guidepost 2 in the book that we are reading together, The Gifts of Imperfection, cultivating self-compassion, letting go of perfectionism. So
that'll be a tough one. I think we both are kind of inclined to be perfectionists all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of like rebelling against it, but then I don't know, as I read, I was like, meh. I feel like
we are inclined to it, but then the results are never really perfect. And then we're upset.
I'm one or the other. I'm either like I think it's just, I try to I do too much. And then I'm just like, forget it. Like whatever happens. But I have to go through
right
that,
after we get bored with
yeah.
We get fed up with the task and then we're like
bored. I think they're pulled out.
Fuck it, it'll be fine. That's me, I guess.
Yeah. And that's like Ricky sometimes now, because now I don't like, if I'm going on vacation or whatever, like I don't want to plan stuff out. Like I want to have like a brief overview, things that I would like to do. But as soon as I start holding tight to things, that's when things go wrong. Because if I'm planning things and I'm like, this is what's going to happen, I like lose my crap. Like we got to hurry.
And I feel like both of us are pretty optimistic with our time and how we spend time and how long things last. So I think it would work better if there's just like, oh, these are the things I want to tackle, maybe one thing a day, and then we'll see if we can do more.
Oh no, I'm like, tomorrow I'm going to, 50 item long list with sub points. And
we
then
are hopeless.
3 days later, I'm still like on task 1 and it's not going right.
Yeah, I was supposed to do a bunch of workouts last week and this week, and here I am, not finished with those workouts. I've done some workouts, but not the ones that I was intending to do. But whatever. It is what it is. I've been tired, so.
I feel like my watch has been going off a lot, though, with your workout.
I've been walking because I need to get those 15-minute things. so I've been walking.
This is quoting someone else. So Anna, the quote at the top of the chapter, the thing that is really hard and really amazing is giving up being perfect and beginning the work of becoming yourself. Okay, so she used to do these read-along things where people like would read a book together with her. And this girl, I guess, emailed her and said, just before the read-along started, I received an email that said, I love the idea of a read-along. I don't think I have shame issues, but if you ever do something on perfectionism, I'll be first in line. Her sign-off was followed with a short sentence that read, P.S. Shame and perfection aren't related, are they? I emailed her back and explained the relationship between shame and perfectionism. Where perfectionism exists, shame is always lurking. In fact, shame is the birthplace of perfectionism.
That makes sense, actually.
Yeah.
When you think about it.
Yeah, I've never thought about it like that. So I loved this in this little story. She goes on to say, I loved her response. You might want to talk about that before we start. I loved her response. You might want to talk about that before we start the read along. My friends and I know that we struggle with perfectionism, but we don't claim shame. We don't claim shame. You can't believe how many times I've heard that. I know shame is a daunting word. The problem is when we don't claim shame, it claims us. And one of the ways it sneaks into our lives is through perfectionism. And then she goes on to explain, perfectionism is not the same as striving to be your best. Perfectionism is not self-improvement. And she goes on to describe a little bit more in detail. So I definitely recommend, if you're not reading along with us, going back and reading, because this is so awesome. It's terrifying to risk when you're a perfectionist. Your self-worth is on the line. Perfectionism is a self-destructive and addictive belief system that fuels the primary thought. If I look perfect, live perfectly, and do perfectly, I can avoid or minimize painful feelings of shame, judgment, and blame. Perfectionism is self-destructive simply because there is no such thing as perfect. Perfection is an unattainable goal. Additionally, perfectionism is more about perception. We want to be perceived as perfect. Again, this is unattainable. There is no way to control perception. Perfectionism is addictive because when we invariably do experience shame, judgment, and blame, we often believe it's because we weren't perfect enough. Feeling shamed, judged, and blamed are the realities of the human experience. Perfectionism actually increases the odds that we'll experience those painful emotions and often leads to self-blame. So I'm just going to keep going. She's texting me. So she actually kicked the power cord. And she's just dying laughing because she's sitting there like, yeah. She was here for a little bit. Like I could still see her. There must be like a slight delay. That's funny. To overcome perfectionism, we need to acknowledge our vulnerabilities to the universal experiences of shame, judgment.
I am back.
I don't think I said anything while you were gone. I think I just kind of looked like around at the ceiling and I was like, doo. I don't know what to do with my hands. So skipping forward a little bit in the book, I like that she says this. I don't think that some people are perfectionists and others are not. I think perfectionism exists along a continuum. We all have some perfectionistic tendencies. I thought that was really interesting.
I think, I don't know how she's so good with her words or how long of a research, how extensive research she has done, because this is phenomenal work.
Yeah.
I think, because it's just so resonating. I think there's obviously people are so different. Like there's so many different personalities and whatever, but this still applies to pretty much everyone. So it's just crazy.
I do. I love that she kind of zeroes in on the human experience. So she says, perfectionism self-talk. Nothing fits. I'm fat and ugly. I'm ashamed of how I look. I need to be different than I am right now to be worthy of love and belonging. Healthy striving self-talk. I want this for me. I want to feel better and be healthier. The scale doesn't dictate if I'm loved and accepted. If I believe that I am worthy of love and respect now, I will invite courage, compassion, and connection into my life. I want to figure this out for me. I can do this. I think that's like a huge difference. And I'm definitely way more guilty of the first. And the second is extraordinarily difficult, hard work to get to.
All right. And how she said that, I don't look good in my clothes. I'm like, that's my everyday battle. I feel like I have nothing to wear and nothing looks the way I like it to look. So why am I never happy with the stuff that I have? So that is very interesting, because I didn't think that that's part of perfectionism, being like, I don't like the way I look in this. But I think it makes sense, like now that she said it.
I think even too, just referring to it as healthy striving self-talk. So striving to be healthy self-talk as opposed to perfectionism. But it's funny because she goes, I'm just going to stop and read this. The results of the shift, so the shift from perfectionism to healthy striving, were life-changing. Perfectionism didn't lead to results. It led to peanut butter.
Good old peanut butter, huh?
I thought that was funny. But I think that it's true. I think perfectionism in this context, especially people that may be prone to anxiety about things, like it starts that spiral. It's very easy. I feel like even anxiety aside, hormonally, depending on the time of the month, most women are prone to like, I stumped my toe and my whole life is broken. It just spirals quickly.
Yes, absolutely. It is like, to be fair, it is funny how crazy hormones can make a woman. Like, it's just insanity.
Yeah.
And if you're able to look at it from the outside, it is quite funny. Sometimes I feel like my husband always like, you're so dramatic. I don't know when you're being serious, which I think is ridiculous because I'm obviously exaggerating a lot of times when I stub my toe or whatever. I'm like, I'm injured. I can't do anything. Or like, it's clearly an exaggeration. And I think we've talked about it before too.
No, we have.
We both like to do it. And then they're like, what? So I guess our humor is just so much better that they can't understand. It's the top-notch humor.
Well, and it just feels good. I mean, this is completely unrelated to perfectionism, but for whatever reason, if I like slip and I'm like, I just slipped, I almost died. Like, it makes me feel better, slightly less embarrassed. And like, if I'm in pain, like being like very dramatic about the pain instantly, it's like, it gets me past it. And then I'm like, better.
Right. And I just think it's funny. I don't know why, but I think it's funny to like, I almost just died. Like, can you imagine? But I guess other people, I don't know. I guess men in general don't find it funny. But
yeah. I don't know. You always find my dramatic things funny. I feel like sometimes, like, especially when we were in Missouri, like, I wouldn't say them to Ricky because I know he was going to respond. But like, whenever you're around, like, it was free reign to be like as dramatic as I wanted.
Right?
And then like, I feel like you laughed at my embarrassment with me, not necessarily like at me or anything. But
right. Like, it's not like I'm not mocking you or thinking that it's like, it's funny that you fall. Like, the dramatic part of it is just hilarious. I don't know why. Like, why? I don't know. Is there something wrong with us because we enjoy that being dramatic and being that way? Please let us know. But I think
I'm like answering. I'm like, I don't think there's anything. I think there's a lot wrong with us, but I think there's a lot wrong with everybody. So I think we're okay.
Weird is a side effect of awesome. So
yes, exactly. Exactly. So I love going to the next section of this guidepost. She says, a moment of self-compassion can change your entire day. A string of moments can change the course of your life. I thought that was a pretty good quote. Because it's true. How often are we not very compassionate towards ourselves? I feel like people say that all the time on my videos and stuff. They'll be like, you should talk to yourself like you would talk to your friend. And I don't do that very often. I'm like,
that is so weird because I've seen, I don't know where exactly I saw it the first time or where the last time it was, but I've seen it floating around a couple of times, like a quote saying that you should, like, you're not mean to your friends. Why would you be mean to yourself? Or like, you wouldn't say your friend looks awful in some sort of dress or whatever. Why would you think you look awful in that dress or stuff like that? Well, that is very true.
Like we were talking about with our, obnoxious to-do list that or over ambitious, like our ego inflated time management skills that makes us think that we're going to be able to do all this stuff. Right. If I come to you, I did. With my move stuff, you weren't like, oh, April, you're a effing disaster. And like, you were just there to help, like in whatever way you could. It made me feel like better and comfortable. And you got it done. Yeah. And we don't do that for ourselves enough. So I think it's important to have people around us that do make us feel that way though. Comfortable and not judged in our weaknesses or insecure, like what we're insecure about.
Exactly. And speaking of judgment, if you want judgment in your life, just get a dog. They will judge you and they will just stare at you with the evil eye. But I'm just getting the stank eye from my dog because I don't know, maybe I woke him up from his dream or something. But he just gave me the stank eye.
Well, they might give us stink eyes, but they also love us regardless of their little judgmentalness. That's what I had a Shih Tzu, and one of my friends one time was like, I feel like she's always judging me. And I'm like, she probably is. But I won't judge.
It has seen so much from my party days in Tallinn. he was usually very stressed when I went out with my friend because we were pre-gaming in my apartment and he was witnessing all that craziness. So the next day, he was the one with the hangover most of the time because he probably stayed up all night. But I'm glad that he is unable to speak of those events that have been happening in his life. So he can't snitch out on me.
So this next part, she's quoting somebody named Kristen Neff. So Dr. Kristen Neff is a researcher and professor, I cannot talk today, at the University of Texas at Austin. And she has come up with definitions for these 3 words that we will go. And these are abbreviated versions of those definitions. Self-kindness, being warm and understanding towards ourselves when we suffer, fail, feel inadequate, rather than ignoring our pain or flagellating ourselves with self-criticism. I love that idea of just being kind to ourselves. I have a friend, and this is not necessarily kind to ourselves, but she's always said this. I haven't talked to her in years and years, but she always said this. And recently on her Facebook, she said it. She's like, it's free to be kind. Doesn't cost you anything.
It's a good point. It is free to be kind.
And it's comforting to be kind to ourselves, like to just directly address ourselves, like in our mind or even aloud if you're so moved, and just remind yourself it's going to be okay and give it some time, whatever it is that you need to give yourself time for. Common humanity. Common humanity recognizes that suffering and feelings of personal inadequacy are part of the shared human experience. Oh, we were just talking about the human experience. Something we all go through rather than something that happens to me alone. Mindfulness, taking a balanced approach to negative emotions so that we feel our feelings are neither suppressed nor exaggerated. Very called out because I exaggerate negative emotions.
100%. I don't know. Maybe it's just our way of coping with the emotions to exaggerate.
Yeah. We cannot ignore our pain and feel compassion for it at the same time. Mindfulness requires that we do not. Oh, okay. She means this differently than I think, than how we're talking about it. Mindfulness requires that we do not over-identify with thoughts and feelings so that we are so caught up and swept away by negativity. So I think what they're saying here is being mindful is if you're like, these jeans don't fit, being kind of carried away with like a lot of negative self-talk, kind of swept up in that negative emotion to where it takes you to a place that's not realistic. That being like exaggerating the negative thing that just happened, your jeans don't fit, as opposed to putting on your jeans and being like, it's okay. Like these jeans don't fit, but I'm making healthy choices and they will fit again.
Right. So it's not the end of the world that they don't fit. And then even regardless if they won't fit next week or the week after that, you can just go get a new pair of jeans that actually fit. Like it's fine. It's okay. Your life is not going to end because your jeans don't fit.
Yeah. On her little dig deep section, get deliberate, get inspired, and get going, she talks about a lot of awesome things. I'm just going to focus on the get going. She says, sometimes it helps me to wake up in the morning and tell myself, today, I'm going to believe that showing up is enough. I thought that was pretty good. I mean, showing up like in school and college, I remember somebody said at some point, like if you just show up to every single class, you're almost guaranteed to like at least a C. If you just show up to class.
That has actually been kind of my strategy at schools. Usually I hardly ever skipped classes. I always went to the class because I'm a lazy student. I'm lazy with my homework. So I went to the class and that's where I learned the stuff that I needed to. Yeah, because I do not do remote work well, or like online school and stuff. It's just not for me because I will get distracted. I will be determined to get distracted.
It's really hard.
It's just easy to go in.
Yeah, with online stuff, if I can't do it like in a few sittings, if I can't like binge it like Netflix, like it's not going to happen. I'm not going to make it through, because I'll binge it and then I won't look at it for like 3 months and then not have time.
Yeah. I don't know why. I just, like I said, I am determined to be distracted. I don't know what that is. Maybe some sort of ADD, ADHD type of situation, but I need to be in a classroom so I can actually focus on the task, because otherwise, I'm home, I have other things to do that are not really important, but I will make them more important. Because I don't know, it's just.
Do you think it's a competitive thing? I don't know why that just came into my mind. Like when you're in the classroom, like they're teaching and your competition is to retain the most information.
I don't know, because I have gotten distracted at class too. I have been watching Netflix on the back row from my laptop while I should be listening to the lecture.
That is brave. That is brave. I think the closest I'm a doodle. Doodling helps me in lectures. It helps me listen. But I think like the worst thing is when you're like so tired and like you start to fall asleep because the lecture is really boring.
That is the worst. That is the worst. And I feel like I need to talk to someone so I stay awake.
Yeah.
And then you might not be able to talk, and I'm just trying to pinch myself and be like, stay awake.
Oh, that feeling, like I feel it. I think this only happens in school, where it's like the sound starts to drift away. Like I'm trying so hard to stay awake, and then all of a sudden.
It is an awful feeling. That's why students need breaks.
Yeah.
Breaks.
Yeah.
Because otherwise that's going to happen, and you're going to disassociate from whatever you're doing there, and everybody suffers.
Going back to perfectionism and self-compassion and shame, I really didn't realize before that chapter, I think, how much the two were interrelated, and how striving for perfection, which is it's never something that I consciously do. And I've never been one of those people. I feel like there's lots of people, and no shame or shade to those who are, that's like, oh, I'm just a perfectionist. Like, it's okay, I'm just a perfectionist, because I feel like it's really annoying. So I don't view things in the term like I want to do this perfectly or I want to be perfect, but I will overwhelm myself with so many tasks. And when I can't do them to meet my level of expectation, then it just all goes down the toilet.
Yeah, I feel that. That is very accurate.
Whereas
I think that's a very accurate description of our lives.
Yeah. But if I could just be a little bit more compassionate and understanding towards kinder to myself and my self-talk in those moments, and just showing up is enough, having that little mantra, just showing up and just doing a few things, but doing it consistently. So I got to show up all week and do just a few things. And then by the end, that awesome list is completed.
And it pays off at the end. And I am guilty of kind of judging I can do it. Why cannot someone else do it? Or somebody else can do it. Why can I not do it as effortlessly or as easily as someone else?
Yeah.
I'm very, very, very good at that. I don't know why or where it stems from. Probably the perfectionism and the shame, thinking that you're not good enough because you are slower in something. Yeah. I know I'm a fast reader, and I know, well, probably not anymore, but I used to be very fast while I'm reading. And I know some people are not as fast, but then I'm very slow with math. And for example, my husband's really fast with it. So I don't like doing math because of that, probably. That's, even as a kid, I never liked it, even though when you look at my grades, I wasn't very bad. My grades are I think the lowest is compared to a C or something, which is not bad. But to me, it felt oh, I'm so bad at math, I cannot do it. It's not bad. My grades were never bad.
Yeah.
But I wasn't as fast as maybe other people.
Yeah. And that's one of those things. I think that's why I don't like math. Is probably my least favorite. I used to be really good at it because I was really fast. And the things I was fast at as a kid, I'm still fast at, adding and subtracting, most percentages and stuff. I am pretty good at, but I also have attention issues. And I think when you have attention issues, like I have ADD, math is harder because if you miss anything, then it's going to be wrong. And it's easy.
Right. Like if you don't understand what you're doing, missing even a little bit will mess you up and you can't, I don't know, maybe that's what I've never really understood. It's not like I did understand the math stuff, but I feel like it took me longer than someone else, perhaps. And every other subject came easy to me.
Yeah.
I didn't have to work hard, probably because I always showed up to the class and I actually paid attention in the class. So I did well, but with math, it was never the case. I wasn't bad, but it was hard for me. And I've always been ashamed of it, I guess. Made me feel stupid probably or something like that. And I just don't like math. I use my calculator for everything. 1 + 1, we've got to make sure that it's 2. Maybe it changed. I don't know. Like stupid stuff like that. It's always 2 + 2 is that. Oh yeah, it is 4. Gotta make sure. Always with my calculator. Every time. I don't know.
I love it. Well, being able to use your calculator is important. It's why so our husbands went to school together for some stuff in the Army. And then my husband's in a school right now. And for the most part, all of their stuff has always been like open book, open note. And I think that that's powerful because you have to have an understanding in order to use your book and your notes. But being able to find the answer is more important than having the answer, in my opinion.
That's what one of my teachers, when I did my bachelor's in talent, said, that there is no point of trying to learn something by heart anymore because everybody has a computer access. Like you have a freaking computer in your pocket. You can just check, everything can be checked online. You're not going to gain anything by memorizing all the like laws and everything by heart. Sure, you should probably know whatever concerns your job, but you can always check it online. You can always you just need to know where to find it. Like that's the biggest thing.
That's really interesting because now I want to argue against it. Not entirely. I think there's merit. I think memorizing things is important because it exercises your mind and makes your thoughts faster, in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I definitely agree.
I believe what your professor's saying. It's what I like. Being able to find the answer is more important than having the answer, but it is also important to exercise your brain and to make yourself memorize things so that one, you can, and two, you're able to recall things quicker. It helps with your research. If you can remember things,
right.
You remember, in this book at about halfway through, I remember reading this, then you're going to be able to get to it faster, I guess.
And I feel like if you know where to look for your answer, you are eventually going to remember it without looking it up too. But just being able to find where it is. He's tired. Being able to find the answer is going to be a start for great success. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I got distracted by my senior document.
It's tempting to just think the answer and then just move forward, but actually verifying that what you're saying or what that you're thinking is true is important. So I don't know. Interesting turn our podcast took.
We just get distracted. Yeah. We just keep on getting
we're not good at math.
Yep. Well, that reminds me of our ways of counting reps. 1, 2, 7, 4.
It's terrible because I know at the workouts that I've been doing a lot lately, I need to count reps because a lot of the things that I've been doing are for time and stuff like that. And I'm like, crap, how mmany reps was this again? And all of the time it's do this many lunges. And I'm done twice that many lunges. And I'm still I frustrate myself. I'm triggered by you bringing up the rep count.
Sorry, but I do that all the time. One of the finishers of my workout program, on top of workout, was 100 kettlebell swings or the front swings. it was so hard. I'm like, well, I hope I did 100. And even if I count out loud, I still mess up and I just skip numbers. And I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm like, why? What is my deal?
So I actually saw something at Ricky's gym with his trainer that I thought was pretty cool. They just use chalk and write on the floor. So just do 10 and do a mark and 10. So I haven't like where I've been working out, I can't just, write on their floor with chalk. But somebody on YouTube, somebody on our last kettle hell video, because of the when we were doing the things back and forth and back and whatever. Anyway, they're like, do rocks, just get rocks and line up 5 rocks and eat at the end of each one, just kick a rock off. And I was like, that's so smart.
That is very smart. And I think that's a really good advice. And we should probably take it because we can't.
Yes. Even counting for each other is dangerous.
We definitely mess up. Like, I don't know
why we can't count.
If somebody knows a reason why we're so bad at counting, even out loud, and why do we mess up and miss numbers in between, please tell me. Please tell us, because I'm confusion.
I wonder if it's like my mind works really fast. And I know yours does too. Like, not necessarily saying this is like a marker for like intelligence or anything like that, but my mind moves very fast. And I know reading aloud is always a struggle for me because my mind will be a few sentences beyond where I'm at. Like, my mind's moving so much faster than my ability to speak
out the words. Maybe that's what it is, because I've definitely noticed the same thing. And I speak fast. And I was listening to one of our podcast episodes. I'm like, why do I speak like that? I sound like a maniac. Because I just keep.
I've never thought that about you. I've never thought.
But it's maybe because I was
thinking. And I feel like my thinking, when I haven't, if I've already decided what I'm going to say, or like having conversations with you, I don't feel like I talk that slow. But if I'm like trying to really think out what I'm saying, I feel like my speech is like as slow as molasses. I'm like, well, the other day.
I can't fast, and I know it, but that's just it just sounded ridiculous, and I have to check if I had changed the speed on my app, but it was on a regular speed. So I'm trying to speak a little bit slower so people can actually understand what I am saying, because I did not understand half of the crap I was saying when I was listening to that one episode, and I was like, what? I sound stupid.
I wonder
if we go back to the perfectionism.
The episode that was supposed to go live, I wonder what that one's going to be like, because I know we did. The main reason I didn't edit it is because we recorded it and then it was the World Series game. And yesterday was just super stacked. So those of you who are listening, I'm sorry that we're an episode behind. I mean, you've already gotten that episode at this point, but I wonder how fast you will have talked during that one. Cause I know we got off onto some we did a lot of talking. I feel like it was fast. We packed in a lot. So
hopefully I have been more mindful. I've been trying to be more mindful, but it takes time. I feel like to actually understand which would be like learn which is a good speed, how to talk on a recording and stuff.
I've never thought.
But I know I'm a fast talker.
I've never thought that you were talking too fast. So I think it's a good thing that I haven't thought that, because most people probably haven't. I mean, y'all can let us know nicely in the comments below. I don't want to hear about how slow I talk though. So you can keep those comments to yourself.
I liked listening to your voice. It's because it's easy to understand. You articulate well.
Oh,
and then it was my mumble, like I have a potato in my mouth or something.
Oh my God.
I don't know.
Every time you make that sound, I'm just like, Thanksgiving.
Well, it will be in 20 days or so. When is Thanksgiving? 24th? Is that a 25th day?
Yeah, so 21 days. How is that? How is this our life? How are we 21 days from Thanksgiving 2021?
I do not know. I was just looking at the calendar. I'm like, excuse me, how is it November? Yeah. How is it the end of the year? But I'm looking forward for Thanksgiving And then Christmas. I love Christmas and all the Christmas food. So I am excited.
Me too. Me too. Well, that will wrap up today's video, guys. We will be doing a guidepost every single day for the rest of our time together. Thanks for listening with us, guys. I hope that you enjoy our random chit chat, because y'all got a lot of it today.
Random tangents. Thank you for listening.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.